Okay, so the first question is, describe at least 4 things teachers should keep in mind when delivering positive or negative consequences. And I believe that 2 positive things that teachers should keep in mind when delivering positive consequences is that the manner in which the teacher delivers a consequence is very important. For example, the tone that the teacher uses, either if it's serious or with a smile. The article that we read, titled Developing a Classroom Management Plan Using a Tiered Approach by Sayesky and Brown, says that the more transparent and clear the teacher is about their behavioral expectation, the more successful the students are in meeting those expectations. And another positive thing that teachers should keep in mind when delivering a consequence is that teachers should never underestimate positive consequences when dealing with unwanted behavior. Using positive consequences not only helps the teacher keep a positive attitude, but it also helps the students, because students are not always going to see the teacher's bad side, but they're also going to see that the teacher understands them, and the teacher's just trying to help them, not only trying to fix their behavior. And two negative things that teachers should have in mind when delivering a consequence is that there is a hierarchy for negative consequences. For example, a teacher should never go send a student right away to the principal without trying the other negative consequences, like for example, taking away their favorite movie that they like to watch, or their favorite book, for example, in grade school. Also, another thing that teachers should keep in mind when delivering a consequence is that the manner in which a teacher delivers the consequence is very important. As I had said, a teacher should always keep in mind that students are going to try to challenge their hierarchy, and if the teacher doesn't follow up on a certain consequence, the student's going to think that the teacher is not being serious about giving the student the consequence. Okay, so the second question is, describe one type of reinforcement system that you have used or observed in a classroom. In the classroom that I'm the master's teacher, I mean the student teacher, sorry. The teacher calls the students by name and has the students repeat the directions or the topic being presented. The students then are afraid to not be able to answer the question, and so they pay more attention, and they're more ready to answer questions whenever they get called on, especially because my teacher uses flashcards. But when fixing a behavior issue, this reinforcement has other students on their toes, because in case that they're not paying attention, they might get called on, so they're not ready. I mean, they want to be ready, so they start paying more attention. So the next question is, how is that related to our readings? And calling on the students to repeat direction demonstrates negative consequences, because the student considers being called on unpleasant, because they don't want to be put in the middle of the class as a center of attention for not paying attention. The majority of the students don't like to be put on the spot, especially when they don't know what to answer. So that gives them a way to listen. The students are also reminded to pay attention as a general reminder of the negative consequence hierarchy. That's one of the first levels of the hierarchy for consequences, for negative consequences. And the calling on a student reinforcement system does not really deviate from the guidelines because it follows the hierarchy of the consequences, of the negative consequences, and it follows the first and the last bullet, which is from the consequences, from the negative consequences, which is that the consequence is applied right after the behavior occurs, and this is from the Iris Center, from classroom management module, page 11. And so the last question is, what is it? How can you reduce talking behaviors using service management techniques? And the way that talking behaviors can be reduced by surface management with surface management techniques are eye contact with the student that is misbehaving. So when that happens, the instruction doesn't stop. The teacher just gives the student that's misbehaving eye contact, and so the student doesn't really get called on. He just knows that the teacher knows that he's not paying attention. And so another surface management technique that works to reduce being off task would be standing next to the student. And this would obviously make the student nervous and notice that the teacher is paying attention to the student not being on task. And this type of behavior doesn't really disturb the lecture, because the discipline of the student, by just standing there, it doesn't really, you can still continue talking and giving directions to the rest of the students. You just making sure that you're standing next to that student to make sure that he's on task, or she's on task. And this is from the Iris Center, classroom management module, page 11.